Hey party people, Techno here with another lock video, and we're going to change it up just a little bit in this one. I've been focusing primarily on padlocks since the start of this thing, so it is high time that we get a mortise cylinder on here, and what better place to start than with this Mul-T-Lock. Now I believe that this is a Mul-T-Lock classic, however I may be wrong, I don't know for sure, but what we have here is a 4-pin pin-in-pin dimple core with security pins. Arguably, you could say that this is an 8-pin lock due to that pin-in-pin design. If based on that information and based on seeing this lock, you know more accurately what model of Mul-T-Lock this is, please put that down in the comments below because I would love to know myself. But there's not much more to say about it until we start picking it and we gut this thing open. I'm also going to be using this pretty cool 3D printed mortise cylinder holder for a little bit more comfortable grip here. This is by dkomando, and I'll link to the Thingiverse page for this down in the description if you want to check that out. Give dkomando some props. Just on a note here, whenever the cylinder is in the holder, I can only rotate the plug 90 degrees in either direction because that tailpiece does contact the inside of the holder. Probably not relevant for this video, but a call out in any case. Tools for this, we're going to use a tensioner and pick from the Sparrow's Black Flag dimple pick set. The tensioner is going to be the smallest one, both in terms of thickness and in width. This fits very nicely in the keyway here in this above this section of warding, and also provides just about the right offset to index this pick against so that we can more easily isolate those outer pins without disturbing the inner pins. And as far as the pick selection goes, this is the longer curved left-hand flag from the set. I do find that a shorter flag makes it a little bit easier to isolate those outer pins, but then when it comes to setting the inner pins, the shorter flag doesn't quite have the reach necessary to set those higher cut pins. On top of that, you can see here this section of warding is precisely where the inner pins are going to sit whenever they are available or it's time to pick those. And this pick does a pretty good job of just being able to curve up in between that warding to set those higher cut pins. So that is the purpose of the reasoning behind the pick selection. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started and see what it takes to pick this open. So I'm going to make sure that my tensioner is nice and flush against the side of the keyway there so that I have a consistent indexing point from the front to the back of the lock. And we'll go ahead and get started. So on outer 1, we got nothing. Outer 2, nothing. Outer 3, nothing. Outer 4, we got a little click out of outer 4. Back to outer 3. Binding. Little click on that one. Back to outer 2. Binding. Little click there. Back to outer 1. Binding. Very high cut on that first outer 1 pin. And because of the design of so I just got a click there, setting that even higher, and we got some movement on the core. What I was about to say is due to the nature of the pin-in-pin design, when we have all of those outer pins set, we should find ourselves getting into a false set there, because of course the only thing preventing the core from rotating at that point are going to be the inner pins, which are much smaller in diameter than those outer pins. In a sense, sort of mimicking the what you would see in a spool, but of course a different cause behind that and a different methodology to picking the lock for the most part. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on those inner pins now that we're in this false set. And this is where things get a little bit trickier for me, I'll admit, because the precision needed to place the pick on those outer pins is much greater, and then the feedback I find is a lot more muted. So if it sounds like I'm making excuses right here regarding this lock, sure, I absolutely am. Hedging my bets here. You know, setting expectations. It is... I find that the inner pins can be tricky sometimes. All right, but basically how I'm approaching this is I'm trying to guide that pick down that warding that I pointed out earlier until it contacts a pin, and then slip under that pin to get on it and set it into the proper position. And right now, looking for the one that is binding but wants to go somewhere, and I might have to relieve some of my tension on this lock to make that a little bit easier. So I'm on 4 there, or at least I think I am. And on 3, nothing yet. 2. Don't feel anything on 2. 1. I think we got a click there out of 1. Or I might have just been slipping off that warding. I thought I felt some movement on the core in any case. Okay, definitely got a click on inner 4 there and a little bit of movement on the core. So I think we're making some progress there with those inner pins. On inner 2 now. Okay, set inner 2, and you can see we had a lot of movement on the core there. Major false set. So my guess here is that there's really only one pin holding us up and preventing from an open here. We just got to find where that is. And it was pin 4. So just tap pin 4 and we got that open. Awesome. Let's go ahead and gut this and see what is inside. Get my little pinning mat out here. Removing the tailpiece is just removing these 2 Phillips head screws here. Nothing to it. The tailpiece also sets the depth for the key. So once this is off, you could push the key deeper into the keyway than what is required to open the lock. So you just got to make sure that that is lined up so that you have those pin stacks in the appropriate position. Grab our follower here and hope for no disasters. All right. So far, disaster is averted. Now here you can already see pretty cool, those pin and pin pins, as redundant as that is, they're in the core. So the key independently moving both the inner and the outer pins. Now we have some other features in the core here, not all that I am actually knowledgeable in what their function is. For example, these machined little dimples here, this hole that's machined in the side. I'm not exactly sure what those are for. Perhaps in another lock with more security features, they might be for, the word is escaping me now, making sure that the key isn't a invalid or duplicate key. Yeah, the thought's escaping me. You're probably shouting it at your screen right now. And there's also this hole in the core here that doesn't go the whole way through, and I'm not entirely sure what that's for, but we do have some drill protection in here. There's also drill protection on the inside of the rim as well. And these grooves are cut in the lock for what purpose, I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps it's just a weight-saving feature. I don't really know. But rather than listen to me talk about what I don't know about this core, how about we take a look at those pins and see what was actually inside. And we'll start with the drivers, and then we'll move on to those key pins. So, up top, pin 1, we have a serrated driver pin. So you can see there we have those serrations as well as that inner spring-loaded pin down there at the bottom. That is pin 1. And our spring. Pin 2, same thing, serrated pin. Pin 3, there's our other spring. Pin 3, also a serrated. And get that spring out of there. And pin 4 is a standard. And pin 4 also has a much longer spring than the other chambers did, so that could be a form of bump protection there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at those key pins now. Chamber 1, we have a standard, and there you can see that inner pin that just came out. Pin 2. Pin 2 is a little bit different here, so we have a, I don't know if you would necessarily call that a serrated, but it definitely has this this single serration there in the middle. And we have that inner pin as well. Doesn't seem to want to pop out of there. There we go. And pin 3, there was the inner. And there's the outer. So same as chamber 2. It's got that single serration on it. And finally, pin 4. Pin 4 is just a regular standard pin. And a standard inner pin as well. So there are the guts. Those are the guts of the Mul-T-Lock. You can see that there. And that is also it for this video. So I will say thank you for watching. I very much appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, take care, and I will catch you later.